I left home at 10 o'clock with my paraglider on my back and walked up the Malvern hills. I was hoping to fly some distance. I knew there was meant to be some north in the westerly wind, so I imagined I might end up at Oxford. There were quite a few paragliding people on the hill. I overheard some of them saying they planned to fly to Milton Keynes. I had thought there was too much north in the wind, but it turns out they had predicted it exactly right. I got ready at a leisurely pace, as the paragliders in the air weren't getting much height. Where I set out my paraglider, there was a discarded beer can littering our dimensional portal. I decided to do my duty. I squashed it and put it in my flight deck. Later, I would put it in a litter bin in Milton Keynes. When I was ready to go, I phoned my wife to let her know my plans, then took off at about 11 o'clock.
Right, I'm going to give it a go. Okay, I'm launching now.
I didn't leave the hill with the first group, but waited until I found a thermal I was happy with. I searched out in front of the hill for a thermal. I had a feeling I knew it was ahead somewhere.
Come on, you're out here somewhere. There's a good thermal out here somewhere. But I can't find it.
And then I flew into it. I circled in it. It was okay, but not the best. Then I saw some of the others were climbing better than me over the hill. I decided to go and join them. This thermal took me to the cloud base. I had left the hill at about 11:30.
Cloud base.
The flight involved 9 or 10 good thermals. There were often other paragliders around, all of them having flown from Malvern. My phone had shut me out of the networks quite early in the flight, and my text messages to reassure my wife were not getting sent. Sometimes I would join someone else in a thermal. Sometimes we'd be high up at the clouds. Sometimes low, like here near Evesham. I could see that the paragliders upwind from me had some lift, so I headed to them even though I was backtracking. I was lower than I wanted to be over HMP Long Lartin. Desperately trying to find lift, it was over 3 kilometres further downwind that I found it. I really thought I might be landing here.
It's fine.
Somebody joined my thermal with me. We got back up to the clouds. I should have stopped thermaling a couple of 100 metres below the cloud, as I struggled to lose height in the cloud, using big ears and speed bar. I got to 1720 metres altitude at one point. Shortly after coming out of cloud, I saw a sailplane heading the opposite direction at speed, close to the cloud. It made me think about trying harder to stay out of cloud. With Banbury coming up, I really felt like I was on a journey. I looked down and watched a 4x4 driving across a field. It was so far below me. I really felt detached from the real world. I glided over Brackley and the line of HS2. I was getting lower near Turweston Aerodrome, watching the planes taking off and landing, as I worried about whether there would be another thermal for me. I could see a paraglider at some distance to my left climbing. After a couple of minutes, I decided I had to turn left and join him. I climbed up high over Silverstone. I avoided the clouds by leaving the thermal before I got to 1600 metres altitude. There was so much lifting air that I could fly in a straight line and ignore the thermals while still staying high. As I approached Milton Keynes, it annoyed me that my phone had no signal and no data. The map didn't even name Milton Keynes, although I recognised it from the distinctive road layout. I had the idea to turn on flight mode on my phone. When I turned it off again, I immediately was back on the network. I spent a couple of minutes texting my wife and looking at the map, trying to work out where the train station was. The flight map on XC Guide doesn't show railway lines or stations very well. The solution was to get up Google Maps and type in station. It showed me where the station is, so all I had to sort out was where to land.
Now that looks like a good place to land. And you can walk to there. And the footpath will get you to the car park. Closest place to land would be there, but that's not a place to land. That's too small. That's a really big place to land. Okay, that's a really big place to land. That's a really safe, big place to land with lights for the car park. Cables. I don't see any cables. And you can walk straight out of it. You can walk on those paths and get out and walk to the station. There is Milton Keynes. Well, I'm blown. That's a beautiful view. Lots of houses. Lots of city stuff. Lovely big landing field. It's just a really big landing field, isn't it?
Once I knew where I would land, I could enjoy the view.
I'm going to land just there, in that middle of that massive mown grass airfield. Which way? Taking me. I think my answer's fairly clear. Mostly that way.
I landed just after 3 o'clock, a 3.5-hour flight. The landing area seemed perfect. I had it to myself, no people, no cars, right in the city centre. It turned out there was a fence taller than me keeping people out. I had to haul my paraglider over a tall gate and let it fall to the other side, then climb over myself. I jumped down the other side, landing neatly on the grass with bent knees, but then fell over and had to perform an elegant roll across the tarmac. The journey home was flawless. I chatted to a man en route who walked with me to the station and asked me about my flight. He pointed out some European druggies grouped together in an underpass. I put the beer can from the Malvern Hills in a litter bin. I bought a ticket from a machine and had to wait 10 seconds for the train. At Birmingham I had 5 minutes to change trains. The Hereford train to Malvern Link was packed. I sat on my paraglider rucksack near the doors. A young man asked me if I'd been anywhere nice. I gave him a brief summary of my day. He seemed impressed, but didn't ask me anything more. I think the conversation was suddenly outside his comfort zone. My wife and daughter picked me up from Malvern Link station and took me home, where I ate olive bread, Wensleydale, Emmental, Brie and Edam left over from my birthday tea the day before. I think choosing to land somewhere convenient, rather than going as far as possible, had made the day more satisfying. I'd had a really nice day.